anything for me to.
Are you up so that you can put this thing on the screen?
Mhm.
Excellent. Did you practice once?
Mhm.
Excellent. Just check. Um. This for this year's. All right, we all set?
Yep.
Who else wants to go with their face, huh? Calling to order the Board of Select.
Yes,
I didn't
we
hear
are.
it. I didn't hear
It said it. At the top,
Sorry,
says
sorry,
recording.
didn't mean to interrupt you.
it. That's fine. I'll start again.
Thank you.
Calling to order the Board of Selectmen regular meeting of July 21st, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. We're in person and virtual on Zoom. So the first thing I'd like is to join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Here, a motion to approve the minutes of July 7th.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of July 7th.
I second that. Is there any discussion?
I read them very good.
I did too. I read them a while back. They
Thank you.
look good to me. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Present to speak, public participation is encouraged. Speakers are limited by appropriateness, staying on topic and maintaining decorum. Time may be limited to maintain progress. Please request to reserve time during the meeting if you wish to speak to a specific agenda item. Hi, Christina. You're the only one with your hand raised. You get to go first.
Oh, great. I'm just here because I read the minutes from the June 25th meeting, and with, I guess, a little disappointment. And this is just my first opportunity to share my thoughts. First, the explanation about why the majority of the Board of Finance voted the way they did to move it forward was not included in the minutes or in the comments about the meeting. Instead, it said there was some discussion by Stephanie Summers and Christina Milos on a discrepancy in the amount of the current budget and the second failed budget. And that's not quite what was said. And I don't want to think that you left our comments out on purpose. But the reason why I was there, and I assume why Stephanie was there too, was to try to get some more information out about what what the thinking was and what information we had at the time, and so it was left out, and that's not a big deal. But the big deal part is that Selectman Clark's comments were included, and not only did he say some things that were inaccurate, which one of the things he said was that the Republicans on the Board of Finance made motions to increase the Board of Ed budget by 1%, 1.5, and 1.7. There weren't any motions like that ever made or voted on. It was discussed and thrown out, but we didn't vote on it. And the motions were never made. So there's that. But also he stated that he was going to vote no on the budget moving forward because he didn't agree with the budget. And that's, I guess, where I have the biggest issue. Because I know after being on the Board of Selectmen for 8 years and having petitions come our way or having other boards request that town meetings get called, it's the role of the selectmen to facilitate the town meeting. It isn't, it's fine for a member to have opinions about the topic, and we expect everyone to have opinions about it. But there are opportunities to have your opinion be stated at many times along the process. The time to try to stop something at the 11th hour just because you don't like it isn't there's a test for what kind of town meeting topic can be discussed, and is it a frivolous topic? Is it legal? Is there some other alternate resolution? There's a whole list of things, but if the Board of Finance, which is the main financial authority in town, if they have voted to move something forward, and they did, and there was a majority of members of the Board of Finance that voted to move it forward, there's really no reason to say no to moving it forward, which is all that you're voting on at that moment. So I just wanted to share that. Thanks.
Anybody else? Seeing no hands raised, we will move on to correspondence. We have none. Public Works report. Public Works is continuing on the roadside mowing efforts, where they're working on talking to residents about their shrubbery that may be impeding vision sight lines at intersections, to see if we can get some permission to improve those. They're cleaning off catch basin lids, which is a good thing because of storms like last night. And there were some previous washouts. I don't know if yesterday's created any. I didn't have any on my road, so that's what I was concerned about. They've been chipping brush from the storms. They prepped the roads for chip seal. I guess they were down by your house.
Yeah, they did Eldridge Road, yeah.
Excellent. They're using the higher grade rubberized so that it doesn't stick to your car as much, and that it lasts longer, because we are using our asphalt dollars to the best of our ability. They regraded some roads. I know they regraded the end of mine. It's nice. They've been working on vehicle maintenance and patching holes. They cleared the cross-country path, the Hall Memorial School, and replaced some road signs. I asked them to clear one, so I'm gonna check that on my way home. I was unable to get out today and look, but I believe that today was the day they're supposed to start putting the windows back in at the Old Town Hall. So I had a lot of other things on my mind, so I didn't go over there and look. And for that, I apologize. That's Public Works. Tax refunds, none. We don't have any for. I think they'll be coming once we start getting taxes out. Ashley's working pretty hard on that. So that's the first thing on my first selectmen's report, is that they are working on that. She should have bills out relatively soon. We should have them by the 1st of August. Townspeople are reminded that they have until the end of August to get their taxes paid instead of the end of July, because timing. We received an email. I believe that did you get this from? Apparently not. Only I did. I will forward this to the rest of the board. Phil Stevens is having a meeting with the Board of Ed concerning the new building committee. I will be getting in touch with him to make sure that, because I believe it's the Board of Selectmen that appoint the members of that committee.
Yes.
But there are a number of interested parties in town that all need to be brought together. Most specifically, the Board of Selectmen, the Board of Finance, and the Board of Ed. So I will be working with Phil to be getting that together.
Those are appointed by, so this is under correspondence, right?
No, this is under Selectmen's report. We have no correspondence.
So,
But I'm using the correspondence from Phil to do where we're going.
okay.
Any other questions on that, or?
No, I mean, So we'll be reviewing the applications and the letters of interest. from
Yes,
people.
we will be doing all kinds of stuff on this. We are in the early stages of this,
Right.
and we just need to make sure that we're getting off on the.
Would it be
correct
possible
first.
for us to get from the state of Connecticut or from our lawyer, the qualifications and regulations regarding how and who?
I believe that we have that someplace here in the building because we just went through it. And I don't think that they've changed in the last 2 years.
Where would I go to find that?
Well, I am going to be looking for it, and as soon as I gather it, I will give it to you. How's that?
That's great, thank you.
How you doing?
Good.
All right. So I've been working with the towns of Stafford and Holland concerning the Shared Animal Control Officer Regional Performance Incentive Program, or RPIP. If we regionalize the state and COG would very much like us to regionalize animal control. And because of the frequency which animal control is called, it can be a whole bunch over 3 weeks and then we don't see them again for a month and a half. It's hard to staff consistently throughout. And so they have realized that 169 separate ACO command structures in the state is probably not the most efficient way to go about this. So I've been working with them on this RPIP grant. If you do this, the state is incentivizing us by paying 75% of all labor costs the first year for the ACO command structure. And then 50% the next year and 25% the year after that. The towns would pick up the rest of it. Currently, we are getting our services from Stafford. And this way we don't have to build the same number of animal control facilities. Ashford's been invited in, they're not participating at this point in time, so I don't know what they're gonna do. But from what I understand, Town has just received a rather sizable steep grant to
Yeah, we were.
do that. Yeah, it was approved like 2 weeks ago. So they'll be redoing their entire animal control facilities, bringing it up to the standards of the Department of Agriculture. And hopefully, if this works out, we don't have to rebuild ours. And we can save ourselves.
They built enough capacity.
Yes. Because we started this early
Right,
and I asked.
right. So
I,
you had foresight. Yeah.
yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Um,
So how would that work moving forward, Pete? So they're the ones that built us on a steep grant.
mhm.
We would have to reimburse, what are we playing, room and board here, or how does that work?
I think we pay a flat fee for room and board. And
Just curious.
these are some of the details that we're still working out.
Yeah.
We meet every other Thursday or something like that. Try to figure it out. It will also save us, on vehicles, because not everybody has to have their own vehicles. We can have 2 vehicles instead of 5. And, for radio dispatch, we get 1 radio dispatch instead of 3.
Yeah.
And at a cost of, I believe it's $10,000 a year, we can probably do something. I'm supposed to be talking to TN about that, so we'll see how that goes. That brings us down to old business. Thankfully, the town has been relatively quiet since the last referendum. No, I think this is stuff that I left in the file from the time before,
The crowd stuff.
the Croc stuff.
Mhm.
So. We will go down to old business and debt policy.
Right, so the lawyers got back to me with the markup of the debt policy. They made very few changes. This will be the third or fourth time we've discussed this in Board of Selectmen. Just want to reiterate that the purpose here is to establish parameters for issuing and managing debt, provide guidance to decision makers related to debt affordability standards, promote objectivity in the decision-making process, and facilitate actual financing processes by establishing policy decisions in advance. In the second part of it there, it talks about the definition of what capital expenditure is here under the debt policy. Town may issue debt for purposes of financing and refinancing construction or acquisition of non-recurring permanent capital improvements, major renovations, open space property, or other similar projects the town deems necessary. Qualify for long-term financing the project as defined above, showing the useful life of 5 years and costs at least $20,000. There's some more verbiage here. I'm just giving a summary. But then we go into what capital expenditures, fall below that level, or those bond thresholds, don't qualify. And they'll be done by federal grants or LoCIP or something like that. Then any amendments to the policy require approval of both the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance. I apologize about the typo there. I think I did that. The lawyers did that, but on 3A. So this is a 30 years is the term up to and including. And then it says
We're at the top of page 2 right now.
yeah. So under 3B, debt limits, public policies. So the type of debt that may be issued for the purpose of debt proceeds and what they're used. There's notes. There's two different kinds of notes having to do with buildings, and then bonds and refunding bonds. And it also covers municipal leases. And the parameters for the municipal leases are, I think it was 5 years, no, 7 years. Term of municipal lease shall not exceed 7 years, and the minimum amount for municipal lease shall be $25,000. I'm going to skip over some portions here that are we can read them along, but I just wanted to go quickly through the highlights here. Board of Finance is responsible for doing analytical review on an annual basis. This is C3, page 3, C3. Page 3, C3. And it talks about analytical review, but done by the Board of Finance. And then there's some ratios here. The ratio of bonded debt to other outstanding debt to net assessed value of the grand list. Recommended ratio is below 3%. And rating agencies tend to consider this ratio as the most important criteria. And then debt as a percentage of the budget, the recommended ratio is below 10%. And then we talk about the business manager in 4. The business manager would be looking at a reference group and comparing and providing that to the Board of Finance for their analytical review. Then we go to debt structuring practices under 4, minimum useful life and the amount to qualify for long-term financing. The project shall have a minimum useful life of 5 years and $20,000 or aggregate of related items, and then a minimum amount for municipal lease shall be $25,000. And they have maximum term. I think that was, I don't remember exactly, so it was 30 years and 7 years for leases. And that's about the size of it. There's a little bit at the very end. There's a little about the approval process. So authorized by town meeting, upon recommendation of the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance. And any exceptions or deviations would be approved by the business manager, the treasurer, the Board of Selectmen, and the Board of Finance. The major things that were changed since the last version, I think, were the timing. A few of the timing issues were changed, and a few of the dollar amount issues were changed. And those can reflect on, what most of these things have, according to our lawyers. So, but I think the next step would be we should make a motion to adopt this. And
Forward to the Board of Finance.
forward to the Board of Finance, yeah.
Okay. So do you have a motion?
Yeah, I do. So, motion would be the board of selectmen, I'll make a motion, the board of selectmen adopts the debt management policy, which establishes parameters for issuing and managing debt, provides guidance to decision makers, promotes objectivity and debt approval and decision making, and facilitates financing by establishing debt management processes and policies. I have a copy of this for you.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
Just, the motion is that we're adopting it, or we are adopting it and sending to the Board of Finance.
Correct, because it needs to be approved by both.
That needs to be approved by both.
Yes.
Okay, so,
All right,
yes, I'll second that.
all right, so under discussion, the thing I'd like to say is I've read this whole thing and the one thing that I thought was a very useful line item was debt issuance practices, part F, the use of the credit rating. The town shall continually strive to maintain its bond rating by improving financial policies, budgets, the financial health of the town, so its borrowing costs are minimized to access, and its access to credit is preserved.
Yeah.
The town shall maintain good communication with bond agencies about its financial condition, coordinate meetings and presentations in conjunction with new issuance as necessary. I like that line there particularly. The other thing that I got as a general overall feeling, I don't know, that's not the word I want. Structure of this whole policy is that I'd say 98% of all of this is already in effect in the town.
That was gonna be my question as well.
It's from the board, from being on the Board of Finance, every single one of these things is already being,
It's already a best practice, right?
it's already best practice. I think that the reason I'm supporting it is because number one, it codifies it.
Mhm.
Number two, it gives you a checklist to make sure you haven't missed something when you're going through debt. And number three is that I had a number three. It's something that has been recommended to the town by our auditors every year since I can remember.
Yeah.
They have come in every year during the audit and say, we recommend that you have a debt management policy. And I'd like to point out to those that may be concerned, it's a policy, it's not a ordinance. So that this is to keep you on the right track. But should you decide to slide off the tracks,
You can.
you can, it wouldn't be recommended. That's what's going on
And
there.
we had our auditor in here to talk.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
right.
We had the auditor in here to talk about that.
Some of the reports might be new, am I reading that correctly?
I think that most of the reports in here are already.
Are they already done? Okay,
Yes.
they're already done. I wonder if they have the same language and sort of focus. That might be a new part,
I don't,
maybe not.
I didn't get that feeling.
Okay.
Most of these reports seem like reports that I've already seen.
Okay, very good. I just probably haven't seen them.
Yeah. So. Let me read this real quick, make sure I'm. All right, so all we're doing is adopting it on this first motion.
We're adopting on March one.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
You want to read your second motion?
Recommending forwarding the board of selectmen approved debt management policy to the Board of Finance.
Can I,
Second.
second, can I make a friendly amendment that we fix the typo first?
I apologize. So, yeah, I was highlighting,
All
I
right.
think I dragged it the wrong way
Yes.
or something, so,
All right, so as soon as we get that.
Yep.
All set up and we will send it to them. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Okay, can you hand that down to Shannon for me?
and this,
Who seconded that motion?
I did.
Okay, thank you.
The assistant tax collector hiring committee change, last meeting, I believe that I asked Andy to do it and, after some discussion, Matt would like to be on that committee so I think what we're gonna do is put Matt on that committee with Nicole and, Ashley.
Thank you.
And, you're being now in reserve for the
System.
assistant
Rector.
rector. And we are working up, the paperwork on that now. Rachel came to me today and said that she would like to see a small change there because we have them working the same number of hours every week regardless of work flow. And so there's times when they're particularly busy and times when they're not. So I think we can budget it so that they work the same number of hours. It's just that we are freer to work with their schedule to make sure they're here when we need them. We're looking into that. We're discussing it with Stacy down in personnel. Last thing, and I'm sorry that I forgot this. Under first selectman status report, the 3 towns are of Willington, Mansfield, and Ashford. And I believe there may be additional towns coming in. We'll be observing Veterans Day in Mansfield this year with special focus on, I believe, our Vietnam vets.
Is it the Gulf? No, that.
No, that's the next one.
27.
That's 27. So this is the Vietnam vets. So if you know a Vietnam vet that lives in Willington, please forward that information to my office so that we can get it to the Veterans Committee. And they're each presented with a special pin from the town. And we are researching financing on that now. It shouldn't be an extraordinary cost. And I think that's what we have. Anything for good and welfare?
Have a
I'm
nice
good.
summer. It's wonderful. I'm good and I'm welfare. So.
Yeah.
Good.
How about yourself? I don't think I have anything in particular. I spent the weekend with my brother and that was fun. More particularly my nephew, which is more fun. Is there anybody for present to speak? Jim?
Hi guys, Jim Marshall, Fisher Hill Road. Two things, kind of related, but I was hoping it would come up in your communications or other outreach, but the CIP committee has been trying to work towards getting some joint meetings together, alongside or kind of, alongside the new request by the Board of Ed, specific to the school building project, but looking to work towards, group meetings to try to envision ways in which we can start to brainstorm and come up with a more comprehensive approach to capital planning and financial planning in the town, given the difficulties we had this year. I still think it is, or the committee still believes it's a priority because things like this debt management policy in isolation aren't really worth much if we don't have a comprehensive plan in place to think about everything cohesively. For example, if you limit debt, but then also don't want to save, you're going nowhere fast. So I do hope that we can coordinate that through the Board of Selectmen, alongside the Board of Finance and the Board of Selectmen to get some joint meetings in place so that we can start to envision what actual responsible fiscal planning starts to look like here, given the needs that we face as a community. The second, and like I said, relatedly, the debt service policy, while I personally believe in free text is a great idea, but in isolation, it's almost as useless as the piece of paper it's printed on. I'm personally a little floored that this whole thing was developed without any back and forth with the Board of Finance, as the body that, I know you sent it to them now, but the fact that, by my understanding, nobody's seen it. Nor did they have any input in the direction or stipulations within it. I think is remarkably problematic. I think certain limitations in there would allow us to not do any project in town, given the level of debt that we already have. And aside from that, while yes, most of this, as Peter said it, most of this is already standard practice and good standard practice. There's language in there now that would make it required practice. That last line, I believe, specifically, although it's scrolled through the screen as a highlight because nobody's seeing it, saying that any deviations from the debt service policy will need to be approved by everybody under the sun in town. That means we can't do anything in town. We can't plan anything in town without full approvals by everybody.
People know what we're doing. Yes,
And I believe that's already the case. People are doing that already. So while I think it's a noble effort, I think there's a lot more thought that needs to get into it. We have a tendency to rush into policies that are half-formed without understanding what the full repercussions and consequences are. I think it involves a much more in-depth look than what's been done to date. I definitely think it needs some outreach with Board of Finance or somebody other than just Selectman Clark, who, you know, his ideas may be noble in nature, but we need more eyes on this. So I hope we can kind of advance this in a more comprehensive fashion moving forward, gentlemen, because in and of itself, I think it's not going to go anywhere good. So thank you.
Stephanie?
Yes, Steph Summers, Y Road. A couple of things. I agree with what Jim was just saying. It's been a rigorous, complicated budget season, and I can tell you that the Board of Finance has done no discussion about this at all so far, and it feels like it's pretty far along. I also have experience with talking to the auditors about our practices in the past and how to arrive at that and the basic 10% figure that most people have in their minds. And what the response I got when I asked our person who's from the firm, Mike, that is something that's not hard and fast, that it's something that as long as it's something that's being addressed in the doing. There are some bonding years that are higher than others. It's not in any way meant to be across the board, you cannot go above this number. So I'm troubled by the way that's stated. I'm troubled that there aren't any specific figures about, in today's dollars about what that would really mean. There's no sheet that from the Board of Finance or somewhere else that sort of shows the practicality of it. I think the timing of it is really suspect, given this 2-year opportunity we have to do something significant with a long-standing problem with our schools. So I am troubled by the way this is rolling out. And I think if you're doing a vote to institute a policy or forward it, you should at least say on your agenda, vote on the debt policy, that's your intention, rather than just debt policy old business. That's very vague. So I'm concerned about all that. I agree with Christina's comments at the outset of the meeting. And I wanted to clarify too that Mike, from the minutes, that my comments were specifically to correct that Selectman Clark articulated the tax increase percentage for the third referendum as 3.5, which was the second referendum figure, and it was 2.4. And the problem with that mistake on that night was it was the night before the referendum itself, I believe. So the third referendum. So it was problematic to have misinformation put out in that meeting and uncorrectable, except with you're allowing me to mention that. So that's what my concern was with that. And I think there was one Well, I think I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion adjourned. I'll make the motion.
I second.
All those in favor? Aye.